Okay, now we're going to talk about piecewise functions. Again, these are basically one function, but it has two different equations in it and two different constraints in it. So in this one it says f of x equals negative 2x minus 3 when x is less than 0, and x minus 6 when x is greater than or equal to 0. So we're going to do this by making a table. So the first table, 4 points is usually a pretty good number. So since it's less than 0, I'm going to start with 0 and then go negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. So that means I'm just putting in 0 for x, so negative 2 times 0, 0, minus 3 is negative 3. If I put in negative 1 for x, negative 2 times negative 1 is positive 2, minus 3 is negative 1. If I put in negative 2, I should get positive 1. And if I put in negative 3, I should get positive 3. And then on the other one, I'm going to start at 0 because that's kind of my dividing point of the piecewise function. So I'm going to start at 0, but this time I'm going to go greater than 0. So if I put in 0, 0 minus 6 is negative 6. If I put in 1, 1 minus 6 is negative 5. Put in 2, 2 minus 6 is negative 4. 3 minus 6 is negative 3. So now when I go to plot this on a graph, my first point I'm going to plot is 0, negative 3. And since it's just less than, that means I'm going to have an open circle at 0, negative 3. Then I'm going to plot negative 1, negative 1. Negative 2, 1, and negative 3, 3, and then I'm going to graph that part. That part's a linear equation. And then my second part of this function, I'm going to use this graph, and since it's equal to here, at the point where 0 is, I'm going to put a closed circle. So 0, negative 6 is going to be a closed circle. Then I've got 1, negative 5, 2, negative 4, and 3, negative 3, and then I draw that part of the graph. So again, it's basically two different graphs on one because it follows two different functions. Started here at negative 6 and went up. I shouldn't have drew the line down here, so it should have stopped here, went up, and then same thing here, it stopped here and then went up that way. So next one I'm going to look at is f of x equals the absolute value of x when x is less than negative 2, and f of x equals x squared when x is greater than or equal to negative 2. So this time my dividing point or my starting point that I'm going to start with each table with is negative 2. So less than, I'm going to have negative 2, negative 1. Sorry, less than, I'm going to have negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, and negative 5. So the absolute value of negative 2 is 2. The absolute value of negative 3 is 3. The absolute value of negative 4 is 4. And the absolute value of negative 5 is 5. Then on the other one, I'm going to start at negative 2, and I'm going to go greater than, so negative 1, 0, 1, and I'm squaring. So negative 2 squared is positive 4, negative 1 squared is positive 1, 0 squared is 0, and 1 squared is 1. So let's graph these points first, and again, since it was just the less than, this first dot here at negative 2, 2 is going to be an open circle. So negative 2, 2 is in an open circle. Then I've got negative 3, 3, negative 4, 4, and negative 5, 5. So I've got that line. And then I've got the other line is negative 2, 4 is my starting point. So negative 2, 4, and this is going to be a closed circle because it has the equal to. And then negative 1, 1, 0, 0, and 1, 1. So this is part of our parabola curve. So it's going to look something like this. The last example I'm going to look at is f of x equals x when x is greater than or equal to negative 1, and f of x equals negative x when x is less than negative 1. So this time my dividing point is negative 1, and the first one we're dealing with is greater than, so that means I'm going to go 0, 1, 2. And what it means is if f of x equals x, then it's the same thing. So negative 1, 0, 0, 1, 1, and 2, 2. And since it was greater than or equal to, those are all going to be solid dots. So on this one I started negative 1, but I'm going less than, so negative 2, negative 3, negative 4. And this just means the opposite of those. So we'd have 1, 2, 3, and 4. So my first one I'd have negative 1, and it's a solid circle. Then I'd have 0, 0, 1, 1, and 2, 2. So that's going to go like that. In my second table I've got negative 1, 1, but it's going to be an open circle. And then negative 2, 2, negative 3, 3, and negative 4, 4.